Well, that's series of reports that have been packaged by New Central TV, and there's a part of it is just what you just saw now, focusing on the electricity supply in Nigeria. Now we are joined by Nigerian political analyst Jimmy Aino, who joins us now virtually. Thank you very much for joining us, Jimmy.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be with you guys.
Yeah, first of all, let's look at the key accomplishment of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in his first year in office. And then how do you think he has addressed the pressing issues facing Nigerians in his first year?
That's if he has, if you think he has.
Well, it's very hard to actually measure any success in his first year in office. For obvious reasons, we've seen how it is, the high cost of living, insecurity issues are still, something that we're dealing with. But in totality, you wonder how do you actually grade him? Again, it might probably cut him the slack to say, some of these things that he challenges that he's battling with, he met them already on the ground, and therefore probably maybe a yes not enough to actually rate or measure his success. However, of course, he's the president. We do expect that there should be a measure of achievement, something he can probably brag about. Well, some will look at it and say maybe the removal of subsidy, but we've seen the cost of it. We've seen what exactly had, what had led to the hardship that Nigerians are currently in due to that fuel subsidy removal. You look at the exchange rate as well. Of course, these are things that have contributed to why Nigerians are lamenting and why Nigerians are, scoring him very low in his first year. But for the administration, they may want to look at it and feel these are things that they have done, which, of course, means that the economy is on its way of being stabilized. True, yeah, if you look at it, if you really consider it, a nation that really wants to develop will need to get rid of some of these subsidies because it's militating against huge development and investment. But in the whole, you know how Nigerians are, having enjoyed these subsidies for years, decades, and then suddenly it's been removed, people find it very hard to adjust. And many people do not even know about what this subsidy is in the first place, So sadly, this is where we found ourselves. But for the president, in totality, I don't think I can find anything that I can really point a finger at and say, oh, this is what the president achieved. Yeah, maybe the student loan, but we haven't seen the effect of it. We haven't seen how successful it is. So, and of course, maybe the consumer credit scheme, that's something in the burner that we can't really grade at right now because it hasn't really started off, so to speak. By the whole, I don't think I can really point to what the president has achieved. Let's be honest.
All right, Jimmy, I'm glad that you made a pointer of some of the issues, especially the major issues that we're facing. Because if you talk about the security sector, looking at corruption, looking at infrastructure, looking at education that you mentioned. Now, we've heard about the student loan. We also heard that, the federal government at some point beefed up the budgetary allocation to the education sector to like 25% and all of that. Now, we have seen some of these efforts that seemingly have been made, but do you think that one of our major issues with the presidency and the administration is the lack of accountability? Because we're hearing about reforms here and there, we're hearing about things that they intend to do, but a lot of times the bottleneck there is that we only hear that their intentions to achieve some of these things, but we do not see an implementation, which is another challenge. So there's no accountability. And even the things that you're pointing out that you're going to do, we're only hearing that you want to. It's all bark and no bite on this side. We hear things like it gets darker before dawn. How dark? We don't know. When is the dawn? We don't know. So we literally are thrown into the dark. We have no idea what's going on with the government, with the administration, with this major facets of the economy. We only know that we are suffering. And then, to cap it all up, the presidency to now act so oblivious of the fact that Nigeria is obviously needing help and saying that the country is not bleeding. Do you think that the problem we have is accountability or just that lackluster behavior that, we're pretending that we're where we're not? What exactly is our problem?
Well, I think the just like every other administration, I mean, they're taking advantage of, would I say, the ignorance of lots of Nigerians. Let's be honest. Um, Even when we're educated, we're still ignorant about some of the very things that the government needs to do. Some of the things we need to hold the government accountable for, and therefore they see it as, okay, just put it out there. After some time, people will forget about it and they'll move on to the next thing. And that's why they have taken advantage of. So it's not the current administration's fault. They always do that. Past administrations have always taken advantage of people's ignorance. But I agree with you that about accountability, and I'm wondering when we'll start seeing a cabinet reshuffle. When do we see the president hold some of these ministers accountable and let them go for non-performance? That we're not saying. For a time where we thought that was going to happen, there was a whole thing about the KPI and how some ministers will have to speak about it. I mean, the ministerial retreat or thereabout we had just before the 29th of May. Some of those ministers came up to the podium to talk about their stewardship and that, but there was nothing to write home about it. There was nothing to applaud any of those ministers except for a few of them, which of course I won't even mention their names to tell you how disappointing their performances have been so far. Until the president until we see that move from the president, a cabinet reshuffle, we hear that some ministers have left and then he's bringing others in to the administration who can actually do the job. Then we'll take them serious. But truly, the issue of accountability is always something that we always have to deal with each administration. I was hoping that the Bola Tinubu's administration will be different and then show a bit of concern and let Nigerians know how transparent they are in some of these policies and action they are taking. But lo and behold, we still have the same thing. But maybe Nigerians will start, taking ourselves out of that, becoming more aware of the situation, and then be able to hold this government accountable. I'm glad that, lots of Nigerians are becoming more aware about policies, what the government are doing and other things like that. And then we're speaking out, even though it's online. Because most of it is probably see them on Twitter or on X, as we call it. But then it's satisfying, and of course, seeing Nigerians being more aware of what's going on with the government, and it's time for us to start asking questions and demanding accountability.
Definitely. When it comes to asking questions, I was going to get to a point when we ask, why did we have to go back to the old national anthem? Because if you ask me, it looks as though the president is not is not in tandem with the realities of its people, because when people are busy crying out about how things have gotten so expensive, some people who have the constant electricity cannot even afford it. So people are now asking, you know what, we don't even want 24 hours electricity anymore. Please take me off band A because I can barely feed. And then you wake up next morning, May 29, you see that the president has just signed the old national anthem to be back. And then you wonder, is this what people have been asking for? So it's just as if the president intentionally picks every May 29th to bring a shocker. Last year it was, taking off the fuel subsidy, and now a new national anthem. What do we expect next year? So why do you think is the what do you think is the motive behind this bringing in the old national anthem when amidst all this, economic struggles that we are faced with?
Mm. And I agree with you. It was a huge distraction yesterday. After the whole, signing of the, would I call it an old anthem, new old anthem?
The newer old.
And of course, it was a lot of people. The focus was taking off his achievements. What have you done in the past 1 year? And everybody was talking about the old anthem, the reintroduction of the old anthem, and all of that and whatnot. And sadly, that was the distraction. We couldn't just talk more about what his achievement is. And you can see it, even though it was a joint session where he appeared, according to the Senate President Akpabio, who said it was just a walker pass. But then we expected him to say a little about his achievements, what to look forward to, and but nothing related to that. But I'm indifferent to the reintroduction of the old anthem. That's not the priority as far as I'm concerned. The president knows why he did that. I mean, there were videos that went viral showing him talking about it way before he even intended
it's been a lifelong
contesting
dream.
the presidency. You know, so I mean, if that's something that he had in mind, that because he said if he had his way, he would revert to the old anthem. You know, and we found out a lot of politicians and some famous lawyers, if I have to mention Mike Ozokame, who supported it, and
because they don't have a problem.
They're
not suffering the band A issues. They're not suffering the lack of food
exactly.
and the
Nobody
food
was
prices.
talking about issues that concerns Nigeria, especially the skyrocketing prices of food items and how some people are going to bed without food. And we just left all of that and we're talking about old anthem. For God's sake, I felt disappointed with Nigerians yesterday that let's forget about the reintroduction of anthem. That's none of our business. We're not concerned about that. The anthem will remain the anthem, whatever it is. But sadly, nobody brought that to the fore, and he got away. I would say the president got away with that because he provided, I don't know, probably, maybe his media team are very creative in finding one thing to distract Nigerians anytime it comes to. And as she asked, what do we expect next year? But I don't want to wait till next year for that. I hope, because we don't have any other government. This is the administration we all depend on, to take us to where we are supposed to be. They might not achieve everything, but the most important thing is the purchasing power of Nigerians. How do we ensure that the Naira is strengthened, that the Naira you and I have can buy us, the things that we need, especially when it comes to food, because that's what's important to Nigerians. As long as you can take care of food, power, and security, we're okay with that. If that had been, if we had that, and then for God's sake, if you want to even write another anthem, change the flag or whatever, Nigerians will really be indifferent to it, But what is important is getting us out of this quagmire that we are currently in, which is the hardship. That everybody, both the elites, both the common man, the so-called common man, everybody are going through this hardship.
I mean, well, thank you so much, Jimmy. I know it's so sad that we have a lot of misplaced priorities, and to think that the government thinks that the old national anthem resonates more with our history. We're not looking for something that would resonate with our history. We want something that will connote the present. This is not the time. Yes, we are patriotic citizens, but this is not the time to hail Nigeria. It's time for the compatriots to literally arise. So if you're even looking for something that rhymes, this is, I mean, I don't even want to go into that, but thank you so much, Jimmy. We're really hoping that it gets better. How? I don't know. If you ask me, I have no idea, because it looks like we're really still blindsided, to be honest. If we can have clarity of purpose, of terms, and the reforms that we're making, let's know where it's headed, then at least maybe we'll have hope. But once again, thank you so much, Jimmy. I know.
Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure.